been the baby she was starting. Not much use describing the journey. It was wet, it was long. I lost my purse to a bastard of an Armenian sailor who cheated at dice, and I lost my dinner countless times over the bow. I hated boats, still do. But I got to Rome. My parents hate Rome with all their hearts, and maybe they should after what they lived through. But I took one step off that reeking shithole of a boat and took in a deep breath, and I knew I was home. Everyone describes Rome. Everyone fails. It's not like anything else on Earth. I hitched my pack higher on my shoulder, turned a circle, and gawped. I'd been raised in Brundisium, back in the days when my mother was still a slave, and had come to the great city itself only later. I hadn't been able to do much exploring back then, and I'd never gotten to know the city well. Nothing to keep me from drinking it all in now. The stink, the noise, the crush, the whores in their dark robes, and the sailors in their brass earrings, the vendors waving wares under my nose, and the urchins trying their best to get grimy fingers into my purse. It was life. Raw and noisy life, as fresh as blood flowing right out of the vein. The dock swayed under my feet. I lurched my way up the wharf, keeping one hand on the knife at my belt. Plenty of people in Rome willing to stick a knife in you first and figure out second if you had anything worth stealing. My kind of city, I said aloud, and got a dirty look from a housewife with a basket on her arm. I kissed my fingers at her, and she hurried along. I watched her hips in the rough dress, hips like barrels. But I'd been a month on that shithole boat without a woman in sight, and I wasn't picky. Even more than food, I wanted a girl. But I didn't have enough coin in my purse even for a cheap one. Girls would have to wait. "Where's the Capitoline Hill from here?" I asked a passing sailor in rusty Latin, and was promptly told to go screw myself. But a vendor hawking brass pans was more helpful, and I slung my pack over my shoulder and set off, whistling. Strange how much of the city I remembered. I hadn't seen it since I was 13, but I felt like I'd left only yesterday. The crowds thinned once I got past the Forum Romanum with its spicy smells of meat and bread, and I let my hand loosen on the knife hilt and my feet wander. I spent some time staring at the marbled expanse of palace that covered half the Palatine Hill, remembering a black-eyed madman and his games, until an irritable Praetorian guard in red and gold told me to move along. "All palace guards look as pretty as you," I shot back. "Or have I been on a boat too long?" "Move along," he growled, and helped me down the street with his spear shaft. Praetorians, no sense of humor. I spent a little longer staring up at the vast marble roundness of the Colosseum. Not the first time I'd seen it, by any means, but I'd forgotten the sheer looming menace of it. No place on earth looms like that one, with its arches and plinths and statues in niches that stare out with blind, arrogant eyes. That stretch of sand inside held all my father's nightmares, and a few of mine. I'd never told him that, but he knew. Anyone who'd ever fought for their life in that place knew. It's many years later now, and I'm well into middle age. I've been in more fights than I can count, but none of them come back to me in my sleep like the ones that happened in the Colosseum. I'd killed my first man on those sands, back when I was just a child. A big Gaul who hadn't really wanted to kill me, and maybe it made him slow enough so I could kill him first. Not much of an initiation into manhood. I stared up at the arena a while longer, fingering the little amulet my father had given me, and wondering how men could build such fantastical places